Introduction: Discovering Winter Gardening Magic. Nobody tells you this when you start gardening. Winter doesn't mean your garden has to disappear. While most people are staring at their bare yards and brown grass, thinking their garden is dead for the season, there's actually a secret that experienced gardeners know. Your landscape can be absolutely stunning right now, even when temperatures drop below freezing. This comprehensive guide will transform the way you think about winter gardening and show you how to create a vibrant, colorful outdoor space during the coldest months of the year. Winter gardening isn't just about survival or maintaining a basic landscape. It's about creating intentional beauty, strategic color placement, and year-round visual interest that keeps your outdoor space engaging and attractive no matter what the calendar says. When your neighbors are looking at dormant landscapes and bare branches, your garden can be a beacon of color and life. The key is understanding what works in your specific climate, choosing the right plants, and implementing strategies that make winter gardening not just possible, but genuinely enjoyable. The psychology of winter gardening is interesting. Many gardeners experience a sense of accomplishment and joy when they successfully grow plants during the coldest, darkest months. There's something deeply satisfying about stepping outside on a cold winter morning and seeing flowers blooming, knowing that you've created this beauty through careful planning and knowledge. It transforms winter into a season of possibility. Understanding winter gardening basics, the foundation. Winter gardening doesn't have to feel impossible or complicated. In fact, garden experts consistently confirm that with just a little planning, you can ensure your outdoor space has something beautiful blooming throughout the entire cold season. The fundamental principle behind successful winter gardening is understanding what works in your area and how to work with rather than against your climate. The key is understanding what works in your area. Not every plant grows the same way in every region. Some plants can handle serious frost and snow, while others prefer warmer conditions. That's why choosing the right plants for where you live matters so much. Think of winter gardening as a puzzle where you're not just looking at one piece, you're looking at the whole picture. This holistic approach means considering not just flowers, but also foliage, bark texture, and overall plant structure. Colors don't have to come from flowers alone. Beautiful branches, interesting stems, and colorful foliage can transform a winter landscape entirely. If you live in a snowy area, a plant with red or orange stems stands out much more dramatically than a tiny flower hiding near the ground. Many winter gardens are most striking not because of their flowers, but because of the interplay between evergreen foliage, colorful stems, and the snow or frost that frame them. This layered approach to color creates visual interest from multiple angles and ensures your garden looks beautiful from different distances. The temperature fluctuations in winter also play an important role in plant selection. Winter isn't simply cold, it's variable. You might have warm days followed by freezing nights, thaws followed by hard freezes, rain followed by heavy snow. Plants that thrive in winter are those that can handle these changes without stress. Understanding this variability helps you choose plants that won't be damaged by the typical weather patterns in your region.
3 critical tips for winter plant selection. Tip 1. Know your growing zone, the foundation of success. Every region has different weather patterns, and understanding your specific growing zone is absolutely essential for winter gardening success. Some areas stay mild all winter, while others get deep freezes and heavy snow. These differences aren't minor, they're fundamental to which plants will survive in your garden. Before you buy any plants, find out your gardening zone. In the United States, zones range from 1, coldest, to 13, warmest. Once you know your zone, you can choose plants that will actually survive and thrive in your climate. Your growing zone is determined by the average minimum winter temperature in your area. Zone 1 experiences minimum temperatures of -50 degrees Fahrenheit or lower, while Zone 13 rarely sees temperatures below 60 degrees. This single piece of information tells you which plants will survive in your garden and which ones won't, regardless of how much care you provide. Buying plants that aren't suited to your area is a waste of money and effort. Take 5 minutes to look up your zone online. It's worth it. You can find this information through the USDA Plant Hardiness Zone Map, which provides detailed zone information by zip code. Beyond just knowing your zone number, it's helpful to understand the nuances of your specific location. Some areas within a zone can be slightly warmer or colder depending on elevation, proximity to water, or protection from wind. South-facing slopes tend to be warmer, while north-facing slopes are colder. Areas protected by buildings or trees experience less severe temperature fluctuations than exposed areas. This knowledge helps you place plants strategically throughout your yard to maximize their success. Tip 2. Add color beyond just flowers, expanding your palette. Winter is the perfect time to show off plants with interesting foliage and bark. While flowers are beautiful, they're not your only option for creating winter color and interest. Ornamental grasses with golden or burgundy tones, plants with yellow needles, trees with striking bark colors. These are all gardening tools you can use to create visual impact. In snowy climates, colorful stems and evergreen foliage stand out beautifully against snow, creating natural contrast that draws the eye. Consider the different plant structures available to you. Evergreen plants maintain their foliage throughout winter, providing color and texture when deciduous plants are bare. Some evergreens have unusual foliage colors, gold, blue-gray, or burgundy, that become more pronounced in cold weather. Deciduous trees and shrubs offer interesting branch patterns and bark colors. Trees like birch have white or papery bark, while others like dogwood have vibrant red or yellow stems. These features become focal points of your winter landscape. A bright yellow or red plant becomes a focal point that catches your eye from across the yard. When you're standing in your living room looking out at your garden on a gray winter day, having a plant with striking color or form gives you something beautiful to focus on. This is why winter gardens featuring plants with colorful foliage, interesting branching patterns, or ornamental seed pods can be just as visually interesting as a summer garden full of flowers. The challenge is different, but the outcome can be equally rewarding. Think about the framework of your winter garden. Tall evergreens provide vertical structure and depth. Medium-sized shrubs create layered interest. Ground covers and low-growing plants fill in the base. When you combine plants with different foliage colors, textures, and growth habits, you create a sophisticated garden that looks intentional and well-designed, rather than sparse or bare. Tip 3. Look at fall and spring plants too, extending the season. Some plants flower so early or so late that they actually overlap with winter. Certain bulbs like hyacinths and daffodils can peek through in late winter, especially in warmer zones. Fall bloomers like calendula sometimes keep flowering into the cold months, extending that color well past what you might expect. Think of your garden as a continuous show where the seasons blend together rather than ending sharply at specific dates. This seasonal overlap is one of the most underutilized strategies in garden design. By choosing plants that bridge the seasons, you can have color from late fall through early spring with proper selection. For example, in many zones, you can have asters blooming in late fall, shifting to hellebores in midwinter, and then transitioning to early spring bulbs like crocus and snowdrops. The key is planning these transitions so one plant's peak bloom overlaps with another's emergence. The advantage of extending the season is that it requires less effort than you might think. You're not adding dramatically more plants, you're simply choosing varieties that peak at different times. This approach also means your garden looks intentional and well-curated, rather than showing a stark division between seasons. Visitors in January see early spring bulbs starting to emerge. In February, the true winter bloomers are at their peak. By March, spring bloomers have taken over and the winter bloomers are fading. This natural progression feels organic and beautiful.
Bonus strategy? Don't clean up everything. The power of intentional mess. Many gardeners make the mistake of cutting down all their dead plants in fall, believing that a clean garden is a healthy garden. Here's a professional secret. Leave some of those dried flowers and grasses standing. When frost forms on dried hydrangea heads or ornamental grasses, the effect is absolutely magical. Those spent blooms and dried seed pods become works of art in their own right. Your garden looks intentional and beautiful, not messy. Plus, you're saving yourself work by not cutting everything down. This practice, sometimes called leaving the garden standing, has multiple benefits beyond aesthetics. Dried grasses and seed heads provide shelter for overwintering insects and birds. These creatures help maintain ecological balance in your garden and provide natural pest control. The structure created by standing plant material also helps trap and hold snow, creating insulation for plant roots and adding additional visual interest. A frost-covered ornamental grass becomes a natural sculpture, creating patterns of ice that catch the light beautifully. The key to making this strategy work is being intentional about which plants you leave standing. Leave the ornamental grasses, the hydrangeas with interesting seed heads, the coneflowers and black-eyed Susans with dried seed heads. These plants look beautiful when frost-covered and add legitimate interest to your winter landscape. However, cut down plants that become mushy, collapse under snow weight, or don't look attractive when frosted. The goal is a landscape that appears thoughtfully designed rather than neglected. This practice also simplifies your work schedule. Rather than doing massive cleanup in fall, you do a more selective pruning, leaving the beautiful parts. Then, in early spring, when plants truly break dormancy, you cut back what remains. This staggered approach spreads the work throughout the seasons, rather than creating a back-breaking fall cleanup.
The 9 Best Winter Blooming Plants, your comprehensive guide. Plant 1. Hellebores, Christmas roses, or Lenten roses, the champions of winter gardening. Hellebores are the undisputed champions of winter gardening, and understanding why they deserve this status helps explain what makes an ideal winter plant. These shade-loving plants flower when almost nothing else is blooming, providing reliable color during the darkest months. They grow in most parts of the country, zones 3 through 9, depending on which variety you choose. That's a huge range that includes most of North America, making hellebores accessible to nearly every gardener. The flowers don't actually contain traditional petals. Instead, they have sepals, which are modified leaves that look exactly like flower petals. This special structure means the blooms last for an incredibly long time. Once flowers appear, they can brighten your garden for weeks and weeks, sometimes even months. A single hellebore plant might have blooms from December through March, providing months of continuous color. This extended bloom time makes hellebores one of the most valuable plants for winter interest. Hellebores come in an impressive range of colors. You can find them in white, pink, purple, burgundy, yellow, and even spotted varieties with combinations of colors. This variety means you can choose hellebores that match your garden's color scheme or create interesting combinations by planting multiple varieties together. Some hellebores have single flowers, while others have double flowers with more petals, adding variation to your garden design. Hellebores are also shade lovers, which makes them perfect for planting under trees or on the north side of your house where other plants struggle. Many gardeners struggle with shady areas in their yards, considering them problem spots. Hellebores transform these shady areas into assets. A grouping of hellebores under a bare tree creates a focal point that draws the eye and makes the shade garden intentional and beautiful rather than neglected. They're tough plants that don't need constant attention. If you want one plant that will reliably deliver winter color, hellebores are it. Growing hellebores requires minimal fuss. They prefer well-draining soil, and established plants are drought-tolerant. Once planted, they spread slowly over time, eventually forming colonies that become more spectacular each year. They're also relatively pest and disease resistant, making them a low-maintenance choice for busy gardeners. Growing zones, 3 to 9.
Snowdrops, nature's punctual bloomers. Snowdrops get their name for a reason. They literally poke through the snow. These small, delicate flowers appear in February and March, usually lasting for several months. They're planted as bulbs in fall, and they're one of the easiest winter bulbs to grow. There's something genuinely magical about seeing these delicate white flowers emerge through the snow. Their tiny, nodding heads a symbol of spring's approach, even when winter is at its coldest. The best part about snowdrops? Once you plant snowdrop bulbs, they come back every single year without any fussing from you. Just plant them in fall and let nature do its thing. As long as you don't disturb the ground where you planted them, they'll multiply over time and create a bigger show each year. This natural multiplication means your snowdrop display becomes more impressive with each passing season, without requiring additional planting or maintenance. Snowdrops have a distinctive form that makes them instantly recognizable. The drooping flowers have 6 white tepals arranged in 2 layers, with the inner tepals forming a cup-shaped center marked with green. This unique form, combined with their delicate appearance, makes them beloved by gardeners and horticulturists worldwide. For gardeners who want reliable, low-maintenance winter color, snowdrops are perfect. Planting snowdrops requires minimal effort. Plant the bulbs in fall, roughly 3 to 4 inches deep and 2 to 3 inches apart in well-draining soil. They prefer areas with morning sunlight and afternoon shade, though they're remarkably adaptable. Once established, snowdrops require no fertilizing, no special care, and virtually no maintenance. They're the ultimate plant-and-forget winter flower.
Growing zones 3 to 7.
Plant 3. Crocus. Small but mighty winter bloomers. Crocus flowers are early heralds of spring, but they actually bloom in late winter. These delicate flowers pop up in late February or March with pretty purple, yellow, and white colors. They're small but mighty in terms of visual impact. A yard full of blooming crocus creates waves of color that seem to glow against the gray of winter. When you plant crocus in groups or drifts rather than singly, the cumulative effect is stunning. Crocus flowers are surprisingly variable in their colors and patterns. Some are solid colors, while others have stripes or veining. Some have golden throats, while others have different colored edges. This variety means you can create interesting combinations by planting multiple varieties together. A planting of purple, yellow, and white crocus creates a sophisticated color palette that looks intentionally designed. One thing to know about crocus: squirrels love eating the bulbs. If you have squirrels in your area, here's a gardening trick that works. Sprinkle red pepper flakes or used coffee grounds in the soil around the bulbs. Squirrels don't like the smell and generally avoid areas treated this way. Another option is laying chicken wire over the planted area to keep them from digging. Once the plants grow through, you can remove the wire. This protective step is a small investment that ensures you'll actually see your crocus flowers rather than having the bulbs eaten by wildlife. Crocus are incredibly easy to grow. Plant them in fall, 3 inches deep and 2 to 3 inches apart. They prefer well-draining soil and full sun, though they're adaptable to various conditions. Once established, they require no special care. Each spring, they'll return with larger, more impressive displays as the bulbs mature and multiply. Growing zones 3 to 8.
Plant 4. Camellia, the showstoppers of winter gardens. Camellia plants are the showstoppers of winter gardens. These perennials have lush green leaves that already make your yard look better than a bare winter landscape. The foliage is glossy and attractive, providing visual interest even when the plant isn't flowering. But the flowers are where camellias really shine. The blooms are large and romantic, looking like roses, and they come in white, pink, purple, red, and even yellow. Some varieties produce semi-double or fully double flowers that are even more spectacular. The catch is that camellias only grow in warmer parts of the country, zones 7 through 9. If you live in these areas, camellia is absolutely worth considering as a centerpiece plant in your winter garden. Camellias typically bloom from November through March, depending on the variety, providing months of beautiful flowers. The flowers last an incredibly long time, maintaining their beauty for weeks before dropping off. This extended bloom period means a single camellia plant provides months of color. These plants also love shade, so plant them under trees or on the shaded side of your house where they get protection from hot afternoon sun. This is particularly important in southern zones, where winter sun can be unexpectedly warm. The shade also protects camellia flowers from damage. Camellias are generally low maintenance once established, requiring well-draining soil and regular watering during dry periods. They benefit from occasional fertilizing in fall and spring, but otherwise require minimal care. A mature camellia in full bloom during winter is something your neighbors will definitely notice. The combination of evergreen foliage, large flowers, and the plant's mature form makes it a focal point of any landscape. In zones 7 to 9, a single well-placed camellia can define the character of your entire winter garden. Growing zones are 7 to 9.
Plant 5. Witch hazel, the unusual winter shrub. Witch hazel is more than just the ingredient you find in your medicine cabinet. It's an incredible winter shrub that can grow huge, up to 30 feet tall in some cases, though most cultivated varieties are more manageable at 8 to 15 feet. During fall and into winter, witch hazel produces delicate, high-lash-like flowers in shades of yellow, red, or orange. The effect is like nothing else in your garden. These unusual flowers appear on bare branches, creating stunning visual interest in a winter landscape. The flowers are also fragrant, releasing a subtle, pleasant scent that fills the air on winter days. These hardy shrubs grow in most parts of the country, zones 3 through 9, and don't need special care once established. Witch hazel can become a centerpiece for your entire winter landscape. Imagine having one large plant that's covered in bright yellow flowers when everything else is brown and dormant. That's what witch hazel delivers. Even gardeners who think they're uninterested in winter gardens are often surprised by witch hazel's beauty and hardiness. Witch hazel has interesting branching patterns that look attractive even before the flowers appear. The plant's form provides winter structure and framework for your garden design. In autumn, some witch hazel varieties produce yellow foliage before the flowers appear, creating a transition